Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. It's 4:58 a.m. Saturday, September 28th. As I promised yesterday, I would make a separate video thanking the good people of Pflugerville. Uh, you're pretty much in the minority. Sure, I got my uh, well, at least certainly in the minority of the enormous amount of people who pass on this parkway, just kind of passing through. Uh, hmm, Forgive me, I just started my first cup of tea at, I only have two before I go to do laundry. I'm talking in that shorthand that you find in other English dialects. And I can remember after my first round of kvetching about all the frankenfood and the feminine hygiene products and the stuff that doesn't, clothing that could never possibly fit me, socks that it might stretch out to fit my foot, but would immediately cause the edema that I've been fighting. I want to, especially, I want to thank the lovely ladies and other personnel at the clinic for being kind to me and allowing me to sleep on the same type of wooden bench that appears in front of all the Scott and White clinics. Without that bench, because I can't get up off the ground, without that bench and the tolerance of that Scott, of what I've properly labeled, and uh, they know too. The staff knows that a large percentage of the people coming through that door are mostly just overinsured, overpaid hypochondriacs. That the definition of a hypochondriac is somebody who is obsessed with their health and reacts strongly to the slightest disturbance of that health, even though they ignore the obvious frankenfood symptoms that they usually suffer from every day. That hungover feeling, that the loose and watery stools, the constant frequent diarrhea, all that stuff. Anyway, they're well aware that perhaps a majority of the people that walk through that door in that clinic don't actually need to see uh, a physician or any medical people immediately. They can wait, just like I've had to wait for closing in on 2 years now, for every little appointment to see an actual doctor with Scott and White. But I want to really thank that. So, first, my thanks go to someone for providing me with at least a relatively safe place to sleep. That, not sure if that old fisheye camera is still working, but and most people don't even know it's there because this is a camera-free zone in here. But it gives me a kind of a sense of security at night that at least if somebody fucking excuse my language, if somebody comes up and kills me and shit, at least it may be being recorded because I believe in justice. There's too many people that get away with too much in this country. I want to thank all those people that almost a year ago began to respect my little bit of space. I'm talking about it. It's stay out of arm's reach. Don't come in on me close. Don't come up from me behind. I can remember when actually it was always women who would watch, and I can tell it's kind of, I have to tag this Pflugerville so that anybody will watch it. But there were quite a number of people that knew I was just absolutely couldn't handle it anymore. Didn't give a hoot. I'm trying to keep this kind of kid friendly. Didn't give a hoot about any of your donations unless it was cash, and giving me the power to decide what I consume and what I have to, the burden that I have to carry. let me remind you that for all you bad Christians out there who are really doing it only for your for yourself and not for me, and you're just kind of unburdening yourself of what has been in your trunk for a year, those little Ziploc bags for homeless people that usually contain feminine hygiene products and unbearably scented products and frankenfood. I made a special uh, video addressed just to the Rotary Club to point out how toxic and how no good their selections were and stuff. But I want to think that there's quite a few people. There's really almost all women, sometimes with a child. Even like when I would be sitting over there warming the winter, warming my back against the, heating up my back and trying to keep my back to anyway, in the sun and stuff. I remember especially one day, one woman came up and before even stepping up on the curb, asked if they could approach and so on. And that's the way to do it. I've tried to warn you people who keep parking illegally on the parkway and run up behind me to give me a buck or two or something like that, that you're scaring the shit out of me. You're driving my blood pressure up. You're setting off my PTSD. And thankfully, it's my fillet knife has a pretty good lock-in thing where it does take it, it delays. In the past, I didn't have any kind of, well, there was a snap, but it was built into the scabbard. And it just, the minute I pulled on it, it would pop out of the scabbard. It just wouldn't fall out. But now the cold weather's getting here, because right now, actually in the microclimate where I was sleeping, what I call the dormitory, it was 58 degrees when I left at 4 a.m. I left at 4. It was 58 degrees. It's actually slightly warmer right here. Not sure why, other than the fact that it's ground. I'm on dirt now, whereas that was masonry that quickly cooled off, and it has more of a wind motion. But I want to thank the people that have been extremely generous to me without uh, these really harsh attempts or endless attempts to convert me to Christianity. I've told you it's not going to happen. Nothing you do or say is going to alter what I was born as. I carry the RMNA, the mRNA or whatever, the mitochondrial DNA stuff that comes only from Jewish mothers. And I got a whole bunch of them in my past, including my mom. There have been a number of people that have been genuinely, that are obviously from here, from Pflugerville, live in Pflugerville, or lived here a long time, understand decent Texas behavior and etiquette, which is keep your space, speak softly, be polite, and ask me if there's anything I need. And you'll know that 9 out of 10 times or more, I'm going to say, no, I'm fine. Because I'm not here to satisfy the bad people's in Pflugerville, their need to give me something that's absolutely useless to me just to make themselves feel good. Please remember, because I've had several times now, uh, teenagers or young men drive by on the parkway behind me screaming, "I didn't do it for you, I did it for me." That was that brief moment of that woman. I understood because I actually looked it up, recent deaths, and was able to locate her husband's name. Yeah, recent. And indeed, it had only been about 3 days since the publication of the the obituary and death notice. But she threw away, there could have been $100 between them two. The largest Starbucks bag that they got with the handles on it and everything, the biggest. She had two of them full and heavy, and she wanted to just leave them here on me and burden me and attract every ant in the neighborhood to me. So I want to give thanks to the people who've been truly generous with the shekels, with the cash, and giving me the power to choose what I consume and be able to pick out clothing and stuff that actually fits me instead of stuff that I have to put in the landfill. So that's what it's all about. What do you think and I'm smart enough to know, I know enough about politics. I've actually probably one of the few people here in this town that have actually studied political science. Let me repeat what my professor told me. The first sentence was, all governments exist to oppress, whether it's a minority over a majority or a majority over a minority, all, because sometimes the majority needs to overrule the minority. Yes, but like as our Constitution set up, sometimes a minority can overrule the majority because their cause and their actions are just. But that's what he said was, all governments exist to oppress, whether it's a majority over a minority or a minority over a majority. The function of government is to oppress. He said it once. I remember it exactly precisely and repeated it exactly precisely because I've never heard such a perfectly true and clear statement in my life. That's really all. That's basically what I took away from political science, other than the fact that people, he didn't really say it. It was already my opinion that people tend to vote for who they'd most like to go to bed with. Uh, that's obviously the case in what happened between Jack Kennedy and Dick Nixon, and plus the fact that Jack Kennedy had made false promises to the NAACP. Don't believe any the current movie with Woody Harrelson about these people who claim that Lyndon Baines Johnson was racist and stuff. No, that's just kind of the way we talked back then and stuff. He had compassion for people. I hate LBJ being portrayed as such. It's because all you people that were anti-Vietnam because you were facing the draft because you were. That's mostly was it. A lot of it was. Why do you think there's so many Americans that moved to Canada? I know I'm being too long here, but I've got time to pass because I can't really roll till daylight. I'm not going to call an Uber driver to pick somebody up in a dark, unlit area. You think he ain't going to spook and just go off and leave me? Anyway, once again, there have been many people, hundreds of people who've treated me nicely, politely, kept their distance, not, when you get up real close on me, I know you're trying to dominate me. And I want to remind the people of Pflugerville, don't ever come running up behind me. Don't ever approach me at high speed from behind me. I can't control the people who are just passing through here. Nobody can. And I do want to admit, because I heard some of that griping just last night, beginning yesterday morning, on about Pflugerville. And actually, I think Pflugerville, in a lot of ways, has been smartly planned. The last thing you want to do is start turning, uh, you know, the Pflugerville Parkway into an 8-lane freeway between 35 and the toll road 130. Don't do that. I wouldn't recommend any expansion whatsoever. You're actually doing it right, because I've been doing the count offs, and you're allowing exactly a dozen people at a time to access the eastern suburbs, or actually, you can tell most of them are heading over from 35. I have to pay attention to any kind of movement. I may not have my glasses on, but I can spot movement if somebody just walked around the back of that dumpster and back into the dark. It's lit on one side, not the other. Anyway, lit on two sides. This is my favorite time of the morning. It's quiet. I went to bed early. I've had enough rest to make it through the laundry episode, but then after that, I'm probably going to try to snooze. And for all of you who live here, a lot of you that woke me up were most likely. That's one of the reasons I'm got to get it done today, because I know actually this morning, the illegal aliens that are here are coming up here from Austin or whatever, because they think this is Austin and it's a sanctuary city, and it fairly pretty much is, because if Pflugerville tried to control the number of illegal aliens around here, for one thing, we're still in Travis County. Travis County Jail doesn't really cooperate with ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or whatever. They don't. There is a little jail here in Pflugerville, but it's not much. I'm sure it's mostly just a holding tank before being transported to TCJ, Travis County Jail. But I do want to think there have been so many thoughtful and generous people from the first day I got here. My rule was the minute I got here was don't speak until spoken to. And then actually the first day I was here, people could tell that I was hiding behind and was trying to get some sleep and stuff. And actually every time I dozed off, I noticed that the ants were swarming my feet, because I still had my left foot was still open. And it had an edema seat. I want to remind you that without the kind treatment of the fine, nice ladies at the Scott and White Clinic here, and that wooden bench to elevate my legs, I would still have edema and be having tremendous difficulty walking. I have to elevate my legs. I would gladly sleep on the ground if I could get up off of it. Trust me, I'd rather be on the ground. Oh, nice, soft. Yeah. Well, soft, but not too soft. I don't like any surface that sags. I'd rather sleep on concrete than on your typical hotel mattress that's worn out. There have been so many people here that actually are gentle in voice and gentle in their behavior, have been responsive and understanding of my criticism of all this giveaway stuff. It's the greatest burden that was given to me were people that were not even from the state, and dropped 2 5/4 bushel bags of mostly useless junk here, and a blanket that was not in a plastic bag with rain coming up, and I couldn't spare my plastic bags. Because they were for sanitation reasons. I would have to, I told you I've had, it took me a long time to find non-toxic, non-frankenfood items around here. There were very few. They're mostly confined to meat and eggs and yogurt and kefir and carrot juice and organic green tea, boiled, never cool brewed, and organic cane sugar. That's pretty much the limit of mine. And I'm doing well on it. This is I'm not trying to manipulate anybody here or anything. I'm actually genuinely trying to give you my blessing. May God bless all of the good people of Pflugerville who respected me as a human being, who doesn't want to be endlessly interrogated or evangelized or proselytized to. Whatever. I'm trying to mark this video so that people over 13 can watch it. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that Kent Kruger fan channel is run by young people. Please take down on your description of me veteran. I'm not a military veteran, but I am the veteran of a super dangerous uh, branch of the private contractor, though. Yeah, because like I said, somebody's got to keep an eye on it. The military. They don't do a very good job of policing their own, which was proven by the shoot up at Fort Hood by a Muslim doctor who had been sent to Fort Hood because his behavior was already out of control in other uh, postings. He got on with, he brought in a pistol under his lab coat or whatever. And how many people did he kill? I think he wounded almost like 30. Can't remember what his kill count was. So this is a genuine thanks and a may God bless you for treating me with some respect and treating what little space I have with respect. And for those people who learn to stop burdening me with frankenfood and feminine hygiene and hundreds of, it's literally into the hundreds of fingernail clippers and stuff. I actually bought, no, I still actually, no, that was one of the ones that came with 4 of them. I use toenail clippers on my fingers. My nails are kind of tough. I don't have ladylike fingernails. Just want to thank the people that have been polite to me, and especially the ones that have taken to time. I know it's hard because I carry plastic to acquire cash and give it to me. And when the cash gets excessive, it goes in the bank because I don't like to carry cash because it makes me. I had one robbery up here, but he just really was mostly wanting my cigarettes, but he wasn't really satisfied. He still stood there like, well, maybe I can get this sucker for something. Maybe I can get his wallet. But as soon as I pulled out my fillet knife on him, he suddenly decided it was a bad move to get close to me again. Because we got pretty close in the beginning. So this is really only for a small, limited group of people. And the rest of the people of Pflugerville, you've been complete obnoxious assholes to me. Why you sat there all day? Although that guy was just passing through. He was like a temporary worker here. I made videos explaining that and stuff. Why I sit here. I sit here because there was nothing growing here. It was mulch. And the flooding, which I've unfortunately cured now by finding the drain and uncovering it, keeping it clear. There were no ants here. It's really important, especially when you have an open foot, or I was still skin grafting. It took me several months after I was here to finally get it closed. It took 7 months total before it was down to that one last little spot. And I had open weeps. Actually, I have one now, but it's not really, it just popped up. And it's really not, I don't really have any edema. And achieving that wouldn't have been possible without a decent bench to sleep on where I could swing my legs out, drop them, and push myself up with my good arm. Although it's my weakest arm, but this is a genuine thank you to all the good people, and because there's been hundreds and hundreds of you that have shown that you're decent human beings here in Pflugerville, especially the cops. I want to thank Pflugerville PD for respecting a crippled up old man and even checking on my welfare when I've asked them not to, because I never know when it's just a malicious thing, that's not really, it's somebody trying to irritate me. And my instructions to Pflugerville PD and Officer Cantwell is ignore any calls regarding my welfare. Cold weather's about to be coming up. Sometimes I'll be sitting there sleeping with my head covered and stuff like that to keep that wind off of me. And yeah, it looks like I'm dead, but just give it some time. If I need medical help, I have a phone. I can call 911. That's unlikely to happen. I'm really other than the surgeons, I'm better than any general practitioner now for going on about 30 years. Well, technically 40 years. And one thing is, unlike the rest of y'all, I reject almost every drug because I know better. I reject almost every drug that's thrown at me. What's that Hippocratic oath? First, do no harm. That's out the window, baby. They don't really care. You know, if you think that your doctor actually cares about you, that's just an act. The only ones that showed genuine care for me are the ladies at the hypochondriac clinic. They know it's a hypochondriac clinic. They know that at least half of the people that go in there don't need, urgent care. Anyway, I'll end it here at 26 minutes. There have been a lot of people, but a lot of people here that have tried to friend me in Pflugerville. They once again just were. I remember one gentleman in particular, and he really alienated me because I had stuff to do. I was doing, was washing. I had shit to do, and he invited me to dinner with him and his, I think, two daughters or something like that. So I reserved that whole afternoon because he didn't tell me when the pickup would be. Actually, he'd already said he said he'd take me there, but I'd have to make my way back. I said I have Uber, and then he didn't show at all. So because he was only really wanted his intentions were not good. It was really all about him and stuff. It wasn't really about getting to know me. It was really about me listening to his problems with his bank. And then he thought, I think I missed the ashtray there. Then he thought he could just rebook. No, I keep my social contract. I waited for hours, and then he didn't even text me. And I think not until later that night, I think right around bedtime, he texted me and said, sorry, it doesn't cut it, dude. And there have been a number of people, like the Kleinfelter kid who ripped me off. Might as well name him now, Yvonne. But, 30 bucks is 30 bucks, buddy. When you steal from an old man, crippled old man with one functional arm, the only reason I cut you slack and haven't named you at this point in time is because you're a Kleinfelters. You think I don't know how to diagnose Kleinfelters? You've been sterile since birth because you're an XXY. You make almost no testosterone. You show me the neighborhood he lives in. All those homes run from 500,000 to $1 million. You've always been well fed because you're my height. Height is almost purely nutritional, never genetic, almost never genetic. It's all related to environment, childhood diseases, and nutrition. And I guess that's about it. Shabbat Shalom to all the good people and true Christians. Because, see, I know there are some real Christians out there because my best friend is a Roman Catholic, one of the most maligned churches, who certainly does not support pedophile, gay priests, child molesting priests. He's one of the kind of people, if he finds out, well, I won't say what might proceed from that point because I don't know if he could control himself. I certainly couldn't. But this is really only a thank you to the good people of Pflugerville who have helped me financially and have limited or controlled their overwhelming desire to be evangelical and proselytize and stuff like that after I tell you I'm a Jew. that I'm not converting. Even Loretta the other day couldn't help herself and had to say it 3 times. So this is not really for you, Loretta. This is for the few good people that respected my space, asked if they could approach and stuff like that, spoke softly, and didn't burden me with garbage. I forgive you, though, those who did. I know you were just doing it for yourself, to make yourself feel good. But in the end, you strengthened me by making me do forced labor. It made me kind of feel like I was in a gulag. But this is, once again, I'll finish up here in 30 minutes. This is a sincere, genuine Shabbat Shalom, and God bless to really the few good people that are in Pflugerville. This is for you. And I do sincerely mean it. Even saying that sounds phony. It sounds like Sammy, and I mean it, Sammy Davis Jr. Anyway, thank you. And if you notice, I only say thank you once because I mean it. I don't need to repeat it. Be sure and listen. When I say thank you, I mean it. I don't say thank you to the good people of Pflugerville who've not stopped and interrogated me, you know, like I'm some kind of a criminal under detention or something, and that have given to me generously out of just respect for the white-haired old man, and have acted and spoken to me in a loving fashion and not just on behalf of Jesus Christ. That's it. 30-something minutes, I'm out. This has been the morning cup. It's time for me to have my second one, and by the time I finish that, it's time to do laundry. God bless the good people of Pflugerville.